Is there a reason you continue to stare at me? Hello, how's everybody doing? I have my picture blacked out because I got little man in the car and I don't want to put his face online. I wanted to apologize for yesterday. I'm not sure what happened. I went inside the Dollar General and lost signal. When I came back out, my signal would not come back and allow me to support my live stream. I do apologize. We're at a different dollar store just now, me and little man, and I was trying to figure out why this dude been sitting here for a good 10 minutes staring at me in the driver's seat while I was on the phone with little man's mother. And, well, just wondering if I could have my face back so I could drive. I mean, he literally rolled his truck window down to get a better look and stare at me. Is it that unusual to see a woman driving this big thing? I'm getting ready to crank up too, by the way. Sorry. I know some people were saying in the comments, I saw that it's difficult to hear for the traffic and for the car, and I do apologize. I just don't have much control over that. I'm doing the best that I can. So, I don't know if you guys, I might be late to TikTok trends and stuff. There was something that I have seen, several videos and TikTok compilations. I'm not on TikTok that much myself, but on YouTube, and I was contacted by two former classmates, and I wanted to talk about something before who came over here and messed with my mirror? I wanted to talk about something before. I've got to fix that. I cannot see good to drive. Okay. Before I pull out, I gotta get this fixed. Okay. Alright. Much better. Somebody had moved my mirror on the side, and I have to be able to see that I'm in between the lines. Without them mirrors, it's not a good deal. Okay. Anyway, so I don't know if you guys remember, but I've touched several times and discussed, talked about that when I was in elementary school, around 3rd grade, into 3rd, beginning of 4th, it's best of my recollection and memories, and understand, you know, I was born in 72, so 3rd grade, 4th grade, you know, we're talking quite some years ago, between 80 and 83 right now while driving, trying to do the math and whatnot. 1980 to 1983 range, because I was 16 in I believe 86 is when I got my driver's permit, when I was 16. I'm saying this and going back to that because I've seen a lot of people talking about the G.A.T.E program, Gifted and Talented Education. That's what we were told that the acronym stood for. And, you know, I've said little stuff about it before, and the things, before seeing this video compilation that my friends, shout out to Shelly and Dana, won't say the last names, who were in G.A.T.E with me in elementary, who reached out to me and sent me links to these videos, and it really triggered some stuff for me, like that I had forgotten. If you had asked me about the G.A.T.E program what I would have told you is I remember a lot of work with fractions, decimals, and what I called fill in the blank type stuff. By fill in the blank, it would be coding, is what you call it today, I believe. You know, they give you these symbols. Sorry, you guys. Somebody's messaging it. Let me put it on Do Not Disturb. I thought it was already there. Oh my God. Can I have my lane? Dadgummit. Sorry, y'all. Anyway, I can't do the Do Not Disturb. I got people all around me driving crazy. Anyways, I apologize. So the GATE program. Shelly and Dana had reached out to me asking me, did I have any recollection of specific things like individuals and whatnot that were in the class with us in our work. They took our folders. They kept our work. We were not allowed to bring it. I've seen a girl that I was tagged in that had a notebook with all her worksheets. We weren't allowed. Like, the big things that I remember from the GATE program that we did, the most of, was we went to an apple farm. We went to a goat farm. Some reason, animals and our interactions with them were very much on the radar. Seemed to be more what they were interested in than our test scores, you know. I don't know how to say what's in my brain, but they didn't just pick the brightest. Yes, the three of us girls, if y'all know what a grade on a curve means, the three of us were the ones that were going to mess up the grade on the curve. If the highest score, and one of us three were in the class, if the highest score any student made was a 90, one of us was going to screw that up. And grading on the curve means that 90 would be equal to 100, and everything down from there would be how you got your A, B, C, D, E, F, whatever grade. For us, the grade on the curve, we would, you know, one of us screw that up. We'd make a 98 or 100 or 101, and trust me, we heard about it. Anyway, the other thing, like I said, we went to apple farms and goat farms. So when I watched the videos that Shelly and Dana had asked me to look into and see if they jogged memory, boy, did they. They reminded me of the coding work that we did. Like, we would get symbols, like it would just be the line, the outline, not the solid blocks for a minute. We would get symbols. It'd be like a triangle, a hexagon, an octagon, a square, whatever. And that symbol would either be assigned a numerical value or a letter from the alphabet. And we would have to, they would give us symbols in a row, like, kind of reminds me of like Wheel of Fortune, the way the letters are staggered and stuff on that. And we would have to figure out what the remaining, like they would give us, you know, what 3 symbols meant, and we're using 10. We would have to figure out what letter corresponded with the remaining symbols and then fill in the blanks to complete the sentence or the word. And We had a lot of the wood board string, like spirals. The best thing I can tell you to know what those, it's like a little nail, and we wrapped different colored string. It was usually rainbow colored string around to make different, what I would call exploding star spiral patterns. And with these, what it most reminded me of is, if you remember the old school kaleidoscopes that were kind of like a pirate's scope. They're looking out, to be able to see, but you looked through it and you turned it and it made the different kaleidoscopes appear. We had those. I remember the Stark rooms with just the chairs and the desk and the testing we had to go through. The part that I felt like I messed up on may have actually been what was the reason that they wanted me in the program to begin with. And I never knew, never dreamed. We had cards that they would give us. I call them the ink blot cards. If you've ever seen certain types of psychological testing, they have these. They'll show you and tell you what's the first word that comes to your mind. That's what you see in movies. That wasn't exactly what they did to us. They would show us a card and ask us to describe what we felt like was on the opposite side of the card that we were unable to see. I didn't know it until later, after the testing, but apparently, like 4 out of 5 of cards, I didn't describe what was on the one they were holding. I described what was coming up on the next card in the deck that I didn't see, that I couldn't, I had no way of knowing what it was, couldn't, whatever. And I was taking for special testing. Now, the original test we was told was a hearing test. I had that with that stupid beat sound that was played in that video that is the beginning of the CIA's Gateway program. That's right, Gateway program. So, like I'm telling you, fellow members of my GATE class sent me these videos and asked me to look at them, and this was one. And it had that beat tone. That was not the same beat tone as the regular hearing test that we had during, like, when you're getting ready to play sports or whatever. I was in GATE in 4th grade, 5th grade, and 6th grade. It no longer happened when I was in 7th grade / junior high. We didn't have middle school. Also, some other things that, and it just keeps like pouring forward, questions that we were asked, other tests that we took, like end of grade testing. Our end of grade testing was different. We were pulled out. We had all the same end of the grade tests that they had, but say there were 5 different, oh, come on, little Chihuahua. Get out the road. Lord have mercy. Little itty bitty Chihuahua. You guys couldn't see it. Looks like a baby. It's so tiny. Anyway, I had 7 different compositions. I had an extra reading and writing composition that the rest of the class didn't have, but my GATE class had. And then I had an extra math. And the math was coding. Literally, when we look back, we were doing Morse code. And we were doing code breaking, like the Navajo, similar to Navajo, and some of us were more adept at it than others. But It's just so weird and wild to even think of. And I don't know if anybody else had this or if it was just the GATE class. Because none of my regular, how do I say this? None of the people who were just in my general class remember what I'm about to talk about. Everybody had to take fluoride, okay? The little cups that you swish and everything. But only myself and now the other 4 people that I've been able to get in touch with that were a part of my grades GATE community, I guess you'd call it, remember the tablets that we had to chew. They tasted great. They dyed your teeth red. They told us back then that they showed how, and they did it with our fluoride program, with the, when we had to take the fluoride, is when the tablets came out, these red chewable tablets. And we were told it was just a harmless dye that stuck to our teeth and would show basically how well we brushed our teeth at night, that it adhered to the plaque that was on our teeth. And that's what it was supposed to show. The 5 people, including myself, that were in that same GATE program, we all remember that being told to us. We all remember it only being that we got those tablets when we were separated from the class. See, we went to a lot of 4-H. I don't know if y'all know what that is. We went to a lot of 4-H events. We went to what they call Emerald Mine, Mystery House, some things like that we attended when we were in the GATE program. And the rest of our class didn't go on. And by the way, like when we went on field trips with the rest of our class, a lot of times you had permission slips for each trip. You had money that you had to pay. Even when our whole class went, because we were talking about this, Shelly and Dana and I, we were all talking about it. And when we went to like the apple tree farm as a whole class, we literally had to have a permission slip signed by our parents, every student, or you didn't get to go. And then there was like I can't remember, and I don't want to tell a lie. It was somewhere between $5 and $10 per student that the parents had to send. And I say that because it's important. Can I help you, woman? Why does she keep coming around here and staring at us, Jeremiah? It's your neighbor.
I don't know.
Anyway.
Because she does laundry outside.
Okay, what's that got to do with anything? She's walked around the corner of the building on the phone 3 times looking at me. I mean, I'm here to visit. I'm parked on the street. I'm not taking their parking spaces. I'm not on the sidewalk. I'm parked on the public street and actually facing the proper direction. The car down there is and the one behind it's turned the wrong way. But anyway, I apologize. Sorry. My point and what I was telling y'all is that we were always required to have a permission slip and pay to go on a field trip, except for when it was tied to the GATE program. When it was tied to the GATE program, we didn't have to have an individual permission slip, and it didn't cost us anything to go. Somebody said, what is that? Gifted and talented education. That's what we were told. We were told that, like, okay, the best way I know to quantify is 7th and 8th grade for me, and 9th grade was junior high. There wasn't a similar program there. But in 10th grade, when I started high school, I was in the college preparatory program. And the it was very similar to GATE in elementary, as far as what they stated was the goals. What we were told is that they picked individuals that were scored the highest on their IQ test, consistently had the highest test scores, and were the most well-rounded. We found that most of us played sports, participated in like student government, and were in the top 8th percentile of our class as far as like IQ scores and end of EOGs, end of grade testing, that they still have now. I remember the worksheet about the diver and the diving equipment. We often had to solve a problem or an issue. And they looked for us to solve it in a different way. It's where I remember, I would think math class would have been the place where I would have been, or science even, where I would have been drilled into my brain over and over again about the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. And I'm telling y'all this because there's something else that's triggered in me. And it's between the same years, 80 to 83. Dana and Shelley also have memories of it. We all can't remember, is it from Saturday morning cartoons or was it from the AV TV they brought in? It was around the time frame of them doing a bill is just a bill on Capitol Hill, that kind of thing, and the after school special era. We all remember it as a commercial for like, one of us remembers it as a commercial for a baby doll. The other two of us remember it as a commercial for like a rock group. And it was a cross between the Bratz and Barbie, Jen Star or Jen something. And it was like, it was kind of like a group that was supposed to be a rock band of friends. And anyway, the point, it's really, today it's coming full circle. And it's mind-blowing to remember this cartoon. And I thought maybe it was a skewed dream until I spoke to 2 other people and we're all sharing the same psychosis. We remember being shown a thing and it looked like a secret lower level lab. And it was made to be like a commercial rock video type thing. But it was cartoonish. Part was cartoon and part was real people. The cartoon was like the Jen Star doll, the lead singer and lead guitarist of the TV show. It was about her. And it had them, if y'all remember Star Trek, and when they did the Scotty beam me up thing, and they stood on those, and it's like the beam of light that was a round circle. Oh, wait a minute. Jen Star. So you know who I'm talking about. Thank you. I feel better knowing that. It was like she was on that with like just like her outfit, but it wasn't one of the spectacular outfits. And she had her guitar, which if y'all knew who Jeffree Star is, the mirror that Jeffree Star has, it's a star shape, looks just like Jen Starr's guitar. Her guitar looked like that mirror. And she's standing on a pillar of light that goes up and down. It's like a round circle of light that goes up and down, and it was like pinks and blues and purples and like stars in it. Okay, and it's almost like she was a hologram, and it's turning around in a circle, and these people that are in this underground almost like computer lab that looked kind of like military vibe to it. And again, I'm describing what was under 3 minutes or less cartoon commercial, but we remember, all of us that I've spoken to remember it in some fashion. Some people thought it was a video, like a rock music video for that Gen Star cartoon group. Some thought it was an advertisement for the dolls that subsequently came out. Either way, it was very telling, because what they talked about while they had her in this loop was how they were going to market her. And what they said was a study basically had been done. Now, I'm paraphrasing. This is not exact verbiage. But basically, they said a study had been done on how to infiltrate and influence every aspect of a human's life. And to capitalize on greed and wanting to have what someone else has or better. And they talked about a 10, it was like basically, I took it as a 10-year plan. And what they were saying was they would start with advertising, and like in between the most popular TV shows, to influence the children and to market to children not only products, tangible products, but stars. In between Saturday morning cartoons and specific times of day. And if they started with the children, by the time those children were parents, they would control their every buying thought process. And it was like Dr. Evil, type thing. But it detailed how that by starting with the children, and consumerism was a word that was used, and that's a big word, for a cartoon, the children. And if you think like the line on the lines of Kim Possible type thing, and fighting Dr. Evil or the Powerpuff Girls, fighting the bad whatever. The idea of this underground secret conglomerate was that organizations, and I don't want to call names, but big corporations were doing this research, and along with the government, on how to influence and direct consumerism and buying power in specific countries, starting with Western countries. Hey, welcome. Same. You were in those class. When I started rebelling, it was an issue too. A big one. I wanted to be not like everybody else. But the cartoon I'm talking about was very, very specific and very detailed. It showed their plan. and how they would first start marketing toys. Then they moved into TV shows and programs and foods like cereal and certain stuff. And again, targeting a specific group, which was juveniles in a certain age range. The age range coincided time and everything with the GATE program. And then if you guys don't believe me about what I'm saying, go after this broadcast, go and Google CIA's Gateway program. If you were ever in GATE, I want you to listen to that tone at the beginning, that beat tone. See if that's not the beat tone from those old square headphones with the big millimeter plug that won't fit in nothing we got today. It'd take about 9, I'm exaggerating, it'd take about 5 of the regular earphone jacks to equal that. It's like the old school, like the big headphones. It's like the Beats that everybody wants now, that we used to have with the curly telephone cord, or they had the long straight cord with them. Everybody got excited when it come in because we knew we wasn't going to be doing bookwork. That's all they had to offer us, you know. I mean, heck, we're in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. That were the specific grades that were targeted were 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. You're talking about preteen and teen and preteen groups, who back then are the groups that were going to the malls, that were going to the arcades, that had disposable income and influence with what their parents purchased. To the point of, let me say this, who made Louis Vuitton so special that they cost that much for anything they produce? Who made Prada that special? Because the quality ain't no better than something that's a tenth of the price. Who made Hermes and Birkin bags so special? At first, it was they only produce a certain amount because there's limited quantity available. But the market's pretty saturated with them now, so that's not it. Who made that? How did they figure out how to do that? Now, it is simple supply and demand that I remember from my 9th grade civics class. I got that part. I understood supply and demand. If it don't matter if I got 1,000 cotton balls, if nobody don't want a cotton ball, they're not worth jack shit. That's supply and demand. You want more demand for something, you say that it's in limited quantity. You say that it takes extra craftsmanship or whatever to create that demand. But how did they figure that out? How do they figure out that Betsy Wetsy is going to do better than Tumbelina? How do they figure that out? Used to, if you guys will remember, the 80s and early 90s, maybe even into the early 2000s, before MySpace and social media, there were groups, target groups. You know, they would come in and show them a product, and they would taste test it and tell what they thought about it, answer questions, focus groups they called them. They did it for TV shows, they did it for music, they did it for food, they did it for toys, they did it for shoes, whatever. They don't do that much anymore. Why not? Why do they not need it anymore? Why is there no longer a GATE program? Who ran the GATE program? Who funded that program? Our government. Our government. I can guarantee you that. It was a federally funded program. That's what my family was told when I was asked to join it. We were told that it was a federally funded, subsidized program for students who showed a propensity to enter college and achieve a degree and possibly a degree geared towards science and mathematics. That's what we were told. That the people that were picked were of high IQ, high EOG scores, high grades, considered to be above average intelligence, and have excellent problem solving skills. That's the byline that we have, and I say we, myself and two others have extensively discussed this, that were together in the same program. And those are points that we all agree on, that we were told. We all remember the scuba diver. We all remember the shapes and the dots and dashes. Like 3 dots meant this letter, and 2 dashes meant 2 short dashes, 1 long, which is Morse code. Why in 4th and 5th grade were we writing Morse code? Why were we code breaking before it was known to be a thing? I watched, it's a Navajo code breakers video that Dana had found and sent and the link to me, and I watched. And what was so mind-blowing to me is how it triggered like a cascade of memories and frustration. We also had, it's like color by number, but the difference was we had to figure out which number and color corresponded through problem solving. It was almost like algebraic. I hated it. I hated algebra. I hated geometry. I hated trigonometry. I hated calculus. And I had all of that. I was on an accelerated program for that, even in junior high, when they didn't have it. They didn't have it, supposedly. I was in 6th grade reading 1984 by George Orwell. And there's another one that he did, the day all pigs die or something. Read that. I read War and Peace in 6th grade. And all that was part of the GATE program. I was in an accelerated math and reading and science programs. Those, and when I say I was in those, from the time I was in 4th grade till senior year at my high school. Code for my pawpaw, just shorthand. Got you. Just reading. It's mind-boggling. And to find out from other fellow students that weren't in the program with us that yes, they had to drink the little fluoride in the little paper cups, that today, I swear, they were just a little bit larger version. If you go to like Wendy's or McDonald's and you get the ketchup in the little paper cups, those are the same kind of paper cups that we had to drink fluoride out of. Shit was nasty. We all hated it. Swish and count to whatever and spit it out. But tell me why just those of us that were in the GATE program had to chew the red tablets first. What they would have us do is we would swish with the fluoride and spit it out, right? And we had to wait like 3 minutes or something like that. We'd have to go wash our hands and go to the bathroom and come back. And then they would give I think we were supposed to brush our teeth at some point. I think we brushed our teeth. We swished the fluoride, waited the 3 minutes, went to the bathroom, brushed our teeth, and then came back. Because it was a whole in-service where we got like a tube of toothpaste and like a Wonder Woman toothbrush or Superman if you were a guy. when you got like some stickers and it was all in a little bag, and it came from the health department, not from a dentist, from the health department, right? And we were supposed to keep the toothbrush and toothpaste at school. And this was just the GATE students that got this packaging I'm talking about. Let's see, then. Yeah, I know, right? They tried to kill us back then. There was some medicine I remember that they were given around the time that I was born that they don't give now. And the way you can tell that it was given is children, pregnant women were allowed to take it, and their children, their teeth turn gray. Um, and they have gum and root issues. I have a gum disease. It's not gingivitis. They keep saying it's hereditary, but it's actually linked to that medicine, and I cannot think of the name of it to save my soul right now. But my mom had it while she was pregnant with me. It caused birth defects, and the birth defects that it caused had to do with oral stuff. But anyway, back to what I was saying. So they would have us rinse with the fluoride. And I remember we had the school I was at, and the room we were in, it was like an octagon shape. And each room was like a piece of the pie. And where all the points, the sliver, the triangle part, met in the center of the pie was a pillar. And around that pillar were the sinks. There was 5 sinks in that circle round. And soap dispensers and whatnot, and paper towel dispensers. We didn't have, believe it or not, we didn't pay for soap and hand sanitizer and Kleenexes and paper towels and toilet paper. We just had to pay for our own crayons and pencils and paper and stuff. But anyway, I digress. What I was saying and alluding to is that we were in a separate room like that with the sink still. And they would have on a tray all the little cups with the fluoride in them. And there was about 8, we seem to remember between 8 and 10 that were a member of the GATE group. Because it wasn't just from our 4th grade homeroom. It was from every 4th grade class that they pulled students. Usually no more than 3 per class. And we had about 5 classes. So, you could do the math. That's kind of how we got to the number. We all remember consistently for at least 3 years, 8 to 10 of us. Hold on a minute. Let me fix do not disturb on you guys. Because if I don't, we're going to have problems. Okay. When we all talked, that's what we seem to remember. And here's the way it was. They had the little paper cups with the fluoride liquid. And it's the same stuff I had to swish at the dentist office. So I do believe it was fluoride. Now, whether anything else was added to it or not, I can't tell you. So we had to swish, and they had a timer, like a stopwatch, that they would set, and we were all watching. And we had to keep it in our mouth and swish for that long. And then spit it out. And then go to the bathroom, use the toothbrush and toothpaste they'd given us. And inside of there, this is during the time, if you guys, anybody remembers, Slim Goodbody. I don't know if you guys know that name. If you do, you do. And if you don't, you don't. But this is during the time of Slim Goodbody. And we had watched one of the videos about mouth care. And we got the little bags and they were from, literally the bag printed on the outside of it said Blank County Department of Human Health Services, okay? Inside of the bag, like I said, there was stickers and like a little coloring pamphlet, follow the numbers 1 through whatever to make the picture and then color it type, little activity book and stickers. And also those tablets. It's in clear cellophane. And we all agreed Some of them have blue writing, some have black. But it was all clear, like sealed cellophane. And they were chewable tablets, pinkish red in color. What we were told to do was take out the toothpaste and the toothbrush and to take our paper cup that the fluoride had been in. We stood in line. They divided us into equal numbers at each of the sinks. We each stood in line and brushed our teeth and used that paper cup to get water in and rinse, and spit out with the toothpaste. Once that was done, we returned to our desk in that classroom. And like I said, all these students did not get this, just those of us that were in the GATE program. Then we had to take 2 of the chewable red tablets and chew them up. We were told not to swallow or spit. I remember a minute. Dana says 30 seconds. Shelly said she wasn't sure. So we're going to say it just that way. Somewhere between 30 seconds to a minute. And then we were allowed to spit out. We weren't supposed to swish or rinse. We could just spit. Okay? Once that was done, we were given a mirror and told to look at it. And your teeth, depending on allegedly how well you did brushing and swishing with the fluoride, it was supposed to kind of be a test to see if you followed Slim Goodbody's instructions on how to brush. Because it was like circular motions. You weren't supposed to do back and forth and up and down because it damaged your gums. You're supposed to do teeth in a circle and all this a certain way. And what the tablets we were told is, and our parents, we were told there was no chemicals, no drugs in them, and that it was basically just a solid gelatin formed red dye tablet. And that the red dye, the pigment in it, adhered to plaque. So it was supposed to show how well we brushed our teeth or didn't. But again, only the GATE students did it. And if that's all it was supposed to adhere to, then why were the insides of our mouths, our jowls, our lips, our tongues, why did it turn them a color as well? Why did it make our gums bright red, bright pink? It spotted our teeth. It really did spot your teeth. By the way, everyone we've been able to contact that was given these tablets, that along with the fluoride, and that went through this same program we went through, everyone has had teeth decay at the root, at the gum line, and has had some type of diagnosed gum disease. I'm trying to, let me turn the backlight up a little bit, you guys, so I can kind of see your comments maybe. I was trying to read. I hadn't thought about it for years until I was contacted as well. Hey, Miss Rhonda. Your son was born with genetic kidney and he had 2 surgeries. Wow. I did work in chemicals at my job. Sick. 25. I feel you there. You did that in the 60s as well. See, I'm a 72 baby. You remember that as well? Hey, Miss Rhonda. I just wondered, are we different? Let me say this. For anybody that thinks that this couldn't be a government program, when do you know our government to give us stuff? Have they not been known to put stuff even in our servicemen's food? Wow, really, Miss Rhonda? Exactly. Exactly. Every single one. By the way, it's kind of strange that you say that. We didn't have veneers, but we do find retainers, braces, and some type of gum or root disorder. Now we didn't have sealants back in my day. That was something that came out when my kids were younger. But the government actually sent in, quote unquote, a dental hygienist with the slim good body tape to explain. And I'll never forget, like, we had the slim good body skeleton. If you know, you know. You could actually remove the head part. And it was like, half of it looked normal and the other half showed all the inside stuff. And it had the teeth. And that's what she used to show us how to brush the teeth. You can buy similar type teeth stuff on like Timu and stuff now. The dental cleaning with the fluoride. Yep, I had that too with the every time I got a tooth cleaning at the dentist with that the same stupid fluoride we had in school. I did notice nothing was ever said, but it was just around the time that between 16 and 18 of me going to the dentist, same dentist, and getting cleanings, all of a sudden there was no more fluoride given. I don't know if you guys experienced that. And I don't know, I mean, do y'all think it's possible? Let's see. Girl, most of us were under the age of 45 when we had major tooth decay and receding gum issues. And every one of us was in that program. And it's funny because our fellow classmates that weren't in the program, the cheerleaders, the football players, they don't have that issue unless they have a rug issue. Girl, I'm same with you as Lil Dev. Everybody, I'll tell y'all this. My teeth are locked in my storage building and I can't get to them. Right now, I've got 4 days left to figure out a way to pay my cell phone bill, or I'm going to be stuck with no phone and a vehicle that could break down on me at any moment. Yeah, I'm just kind of nervous and scared. Awesome, Miss Rhonda. I just wonder, what were they really testing us for? What were they really looking for? Because it's weird. One of the girls, um, Dana, has since been diagnosed as having been all through school on the autistic spectrum. Um, During that time frame, most of us that they picked were not very social. Were not in the popular groups. Were more into reading and books and we would have been the ones making the volcano with the science experiment. Y'all hear little man? Yeah, he's singing, y'all. He's hanging with Nene because I think it's either Monday. Let's see, whatever day the 29th is. My phone will be cut off at midnight on the 28th. Thanks to Verizon. I don't understand because I paid the bill on the 3rd. It's supposed to be 30 days. Y'all tell me. They bought Straight Talk and changed everything. I agree. I agree. Same, Miss Rhonda. Um, the reason what I was getting at in they didn't have a GATE program or an actual program in junior high, which junior high I don't know about nobody else. That was seventh, eighth, and ninth grade as I was growing up. I was in an accelerated math program, an accelerated reading program. Um, in seventh grade, I was actually in sixth grade. I had pre-algebra. Seventh grade, I had algebra one. Eighth grade, I had geometry. Ninth grade was trig. 10th grade, when I started high school, I actually took calculus in 10th grade. I was in there with seniors. I was one of two people in that class that was not a senior. And I had statistics in 11th grade, and I hate statistics. Who cares what the probability of me rolling 3 on a dice is? Okay, I don't care. I hated that. Like, why? Why? Is it even important? Who cares? Somebody apparently did. But anyway, and like I said, in sixth grade, I'm reading George Orwell's 1984 and A Day All Pigs Would Die. I'll never forget that. You know, the rest of my classmates are reading Little Women, you know, and I'm reading 1984 and like I'd already read every Judy Blume book there was out there. Like seventh grade, I'm literally reading like War and Peace and um, Stephen King books and V.C. Andrews. I remember high school, 10th grade. I was in college prep classes. My two best friends were in the regular classes. And like for English, they're doing stuff like how to make a resume and how to do a job interview. And I'm getting up giving a speech. And literally, we have time to make an outline. The way they did the speech was almost, well, it was like when you were in forensics and debate. And I did take forensics in high school, which is not like you see on CSI. That's not what forensics in high school is. It's more of debate style thing. Um, but in my class, it was college prep. I'm trying to think what they called it. It was a college prep English course. And you had to be selected to be in those. There were only like 23 students in my classes. Miraculously, what Dana and Shelly were in those classes that I was in. For all the way from elementary school up through our senior year in high school, we were grouped together. It's kind of odd because in high school, like homerooms were just out by alphabetical names, but we would always end up in the same accelerated classes. And I remember like one speech that I had to do that really stands out in my mind in that class was we would be given a topic for debate, based on, she just would take a hat, a fishbowl, a bucket, whatever, and there would be like different topics, pro or con, in a bowl, and somebody would draw, and there would be two of us, right? And we're standing there, and one of the two of us would draw, and let's say I drew the topic, and mine would say pro, so the other person would have to take the con, no matter what you believed in. I had to do it on the unaliving of unborns, if you know what I mean, the ab word. And I was in the 4th grade when I had to do the berserk thing. It wasn't debate class. It was my English, like English 101. Um, but for the 23 of us, we didn't do resumes. We didn't do job interview. We didn't have a book. We didn't even have a book for this class. Literally, we're given that topic. You get 15 minutes to make your outline up and to hand it over to the teacher, and then go to the podium and present your for or against. And then the class votes on which side they're persuaded towards. And literally, if you won the debate, of course you were going to make an A. But you could lose and still make an A. It just depended on how well you put it together. And then the only class that I had in high school that was the normal, quote unquote, normal classes was biology, health and PE, homeroom. That was it. I was even in a thing they called VOCA that because I had so many credits by the end of my 10th grade year that I got out of school at 11 o'clock in the morning, starting my 11th grade year. I only had to go to school from 8 a.m. to 11 a.m. And I worked a part-time job. I started work part-time with a work permit. Officially at that time. And I'm 53 was this. Yes, some people are. And I wonder, were they testing to see how it was going to affect us? Were they testing to see how it was going to affect our children that we had? Were the one video that I was sent is from someone that is in the Air Force's remote viewing program. And that person is a GATE alumni from the Gifted and Talented. And she said it's Gifted and Talented Enrichment. We were told education, whatever. She is currently, as I understand, retired, younger than me. This person is at least 10, 12 years younger than me based on appearance alone. She didn't tell her age in the TikTok video. I will find it because it's available on YouTube, and I will link the video I'm speaking about right now in the description. Because it's in my history. It should be pretty easy to find and link. She was telling how GATE was the Gateway program, and that it wasn't what we thought. It wasn't about intelligence. Basically, it was based on the thought process that students that could do coding and were more advanced in reading and mathematics and certain, I guess, scientific slash equipment type skill set, computer-based learning and stuff, because I started that early. I was on a Radio Shack Tandy TRS 80, I think is what it was called. I remember it from like my 9th grade before I went to high school. It was one of the first computers that wasn't like a big ass mainframe computer type thing. Had a hard boot with a large floppy disk from MS-DOS. If you know, you know. I started out with that, and in college is when it was trash 80s. Yep. When I got to college, we had instead of the large floppy disk, we had the smaller hard floppy disk. Before there were ever the little keychain drive things, flash drives. Those were way futuristic when I was in high school. We were on the IBM computers when IBM was the forefront of technology in computers. Scientific Atlanta, Pascal, those were different programming languages that were used. Um, if you know, you know. It's the old dot matrix printers with the perforated sides you had to pull off on each side after it printed out. On that ugly paper, we had the white and green stripe paper. If you know, you know. That was at college. Let's see. Just, yeah, it is very nostalgic. I feel you on that. You actually kept them. Oh, I wish I still had some of mine. I had the plastic, like, Cardex thing when I was in college for mine. But, and if my Pell Grant did assist me in getting that, simply because my program, I was double majoring at that time at college, and it was business computer programming and business management. So that's why I was doing the COBOL, the RPGs, the Pascal, Scientific Atlanta. All those are obsolete. They were obsolete before I graduated. um, there was supposed to be such a big demand for the computer programming when I entered that 2-year program. And by the time it was the year I was graduating, I was lucky to be able to find an entry-level position in data entry. Had to go all the way to Charlotte with 2 small children at the time. Daycare was double, rent was double, car insurance was higher, gas was higher, food was higher. And I could either stay home and have free childcare and live for half the price or less, and take a job making around $6.50 an hour, or go to Charlotte and pay double and triple for everything, be scared because of the crime levels, and make about $9.50 an hour starting out. Like when I got my paralegal certification from the 1-year certificate program, top pay was about $8.40 an hour for a paralegal. And it's not went up that much. Like literally when I started work as a CNA or a nurse's aide in training, before I finished my class to get my CNA certification, I made $4.25 an hour. Literally. But I'm getting off topic. I want to know thoughts, and put it in the comment section after the live stream is over, because I want other people to be able to comment and see. What was the GATE program really about? Unequivocally, nobody can argue. It was a federally subsidized program. It was what they call pork belly, whatever. It was in with an agricultural bill that was passed by Congress and Senate. My understanding is somewhere between 62 and 65 that began the program for GATE. What was it really about? Is the lady from the Air Force correct in that they were searching for people and looking? The hypothesis that she's saying the program was established upon and everything else is that those with higher IQ, with advanced reading skills, advanced problem solving skills, were more open to using more of our brain that we don't normally access. ESP, telekinesis, remote viewing, that kind of thing. And it was, according to her, allegedly, a government subsidized program to find and single out individuals that had extraordinary perceptive abilities. What's the matter? Are you bored, or did your laptop die?
It died. I don't want to be on it.
The laptop died, so now he's up here to talk to us.
I don't want to be on it.
Uh-oh. I'm trying to read. Our government was looking for the next. Absolutely. And let me say this. You know, what really, really kind of flips me out about it, too, is it was within this same, 15-year period that our government did the staring at goats. If y'all know, you know. That is an actual program. And again, we went to farms, petting zoos, carnivals where there were petting zoos. It was a lot of animal interaction. And I checked. And this detail was, I'm just reading. Yes, exactly what you're talking about, little Dev. I swear it's, I cannot think of the name of the medicine. My mom, I wish she was still here, she could tell you. A lot of people in the 70s, the medicine was given. I was given breathine, and it starts with a T. They gave me breathine, and it's they tried to make me take a 1 milligram nerve pill that starts with a T. I cannot think of the name, and I refused that medicine. I did have to take the breathine to stop my labor. Breathine was developed after the medicine that I'm talking about that caused teeth discoloration. It makes gray spots within the teeth, from the inside out. And personally,
I didn't know
those that have those spots and that got that medicine and then got the red tablets are the ones that have gum disorders. I think so too. Tetracycline, I believe that might be it, Lisa.
I see groundhog.
Oh my goodness. Hold on, let's see if we can show y'all. Let me try to show y'all. Hold on. Can y'all see the groundhog right there? It looks like a dirt hill. But he's a moving. Hold on, let's see. He's in front of the stump. If y'all, I can't make it any bigger, and he went still. There is in right behind that stump, you guys can see, there is a groundhog nest, I guess is what you call them. That looks like one of the babies and not the mama. The baby, not the mama. Okay. Sorry. I believe it was tetracycline. Now, that's not the medicine that they tried to give me with the breathing. That's the medicine.
Last time I saw 2 outside.
2 of them. Yeah, your mom says there's 4 of them over there.
Yeah, there is.
It's coming this direction. There was a squirrel right there too, but it left when the groundhog come out. Sorry, y'all. I'm having 5 conversations. Nope, not terbutaline.
I'm going to my mom's house.
Okay, I'll be down there in a minute. You need Nene to unlock anything for you, or take your. You don't want to take your stuff?
Mm-mm.
You coming back?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You got to turn that other lock first. Yep. Turn it. There you go. You need help? Look, there you go. Now push that. Push it. Good deal. You're so smart. Do you... Nene will bring your snacks. Shut my door. Both doors. Okay, yeah. I can talk a little freer now without little ears, too, so I'm just waiting. Go to the back door. I'm watching you. Where I'm sitting, I can see him go. And his mom's sitting on the back porch. DES that was given. Wow. Question our parents, because back then it was popular for doctors to give pregnant. Yes, it was. It was. The tetracycline was often given to pregnant women in this time frame I'm talking about. I will look it up. I will look up DES daughters. Absolutely. The what I'm talking about, the tetracycline, somewhere around 1978 to 81 range was when it was phased out quietly, I might add. That it was quietly phased out and no longer used, because it caused birth defects, tooth decay, and probably some form of cancer, I'm sure. Just like the red tablets that they had us chew contain 2 or 3 chemicals, and God knows I can't remember the names, and I apologize, that have been proven to cause gum disease, tooth decay, and cancer. Here comes Jeremiah back. Just so y'all know ahead of time. What is he carrying? He done went and got a banana. Banana, nana, fofana, banana. Yes. Oh, yes. The stuff that's going on with RFK is what's brought it to light about the fluoride, the red tablets, a certain red dye. If you guys remember, and I don't want to name names of toothpaste, but if you remember, there was several toothpaste. They came out with the upright tubes that you could push, and they had red and blue, and like it would be red, white, and blue, or red, blue, and green, and white. There's always white paste in with it. The dye that makes the red color, the green color, and the blue color, not good for us at all. At all, allegedly. Just like, why are you going back out? In or out? Don't throw trash out. Pick it up and put it back inside, okay? I heard it hit the ground. Yeah, a bottle. Your bottle, probably. Thank you. Why is our country still allowing certain chemicals in our food that for 13 plus years, other countries, you can't get it? Go to England. You will not find high fructose corn syrup and shit. You won't. It's not allowed. You won't find red dye number 3. You know, I grew up, and I thought it was just a guy thing. I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard this. I heard it a lot from athletes when I was in high school and college. They wouldn't drink yellow soda. They won't drink yellow soda at all. Um, and they said the yellow dye causes impotence and shrinking of male parts and issues with sperm and the ability to make children. Now, that's not, and let me say this, these were just athletes, football players, basketball players, baseball, well, it was softball, not baseball then, but just, and I still hear it to this day. I have a male friend that I've known over 30 years, will not drink yellow soda, will not. Also won't drink red soda because he his grandmother was full-blooded Lumbee Indian, and he's been told his whole life that those were chemicals to control his manhood, basically, and ability to procreate. Oh, I have looked up the testing on Agent Orange. I know, I can tell you all about that. Our government tested it on our soldiers, and our vets came home and got treated like crap. Y'all don't even want me to go there. My thing is, it really seems like, from all the evidence and research that I can find, myself included, there were a whole generation or two of our children that were targeted and experimented on in ways that they didn't give permission or knowingly give permission.
Yep, I'm done with it. I'm going to throw it in the trash at my mom's house.
I mean, let's see. Huh. Absolutely. I know what you're talking about, the Masiki Airmen. Let me ask y'all a simple question. In my opinion, there's two ways to answer this, two things that would answer this question. If a corporation or government entity wanted to test or even sterilize, but if they wanted to test something, whether it was immunity or a disease or a chemical warfare agent, a preventative agent, whatever, if they wanted to test it, what are the two best ways to ensure that an entire population for the whole country or for specific individualized areas receive it, whether they know it or not? Your water supply and air. Air is more difficult to be specific because of Mother Nature, because of weather, because of wind, because of water, from rain or whatever. But putting it in your groundwater supply, that's diabolical, right? But hadn't they been doing that? Think about it. Ain't it? Let me ask y'all something. Why do y'all think it's more difficult now than it was when I grew up to be on well water and not city water furnished by somebody else that we have to pay for? Why is it so difficult? If I own a piece of land, why do I have to put a septic system in it and run off of the power grid that they provide? Why can't I be off grid? Why can't I put an a camper or a motorhome or a tiny house on my piece of land that's out in the woods in BFE? Why do I have to pay taxes on it after I bought it and paid for it, and make sure that it's ordinanced and zoned properly to allow me to do what I want on my own property? She was traveling to Florida. I was worried because Mama's news said snowing in Florida. What? Wow. Oh yes, I know all about Fort Bragg. Y'all know I wasn't a military service personnel, but I was a civilian on base during the time frame of that water testing going on. Nope, I did not drink water. I'm gonna tell y'all something. People are really amazed when I say this. I rarely drink water. I drink it in tea and coffee, or like juice, the powdered stuff. Um, Even when we were getting bottled water, I was boiling my water. Um, it's an old mountain woman Indian thing. Boil for 3 to 5 minutes, boiling, to remove all the impurities. I remember growing up. I'm going to say this, and I'm probably going to catch a lot of backlash, but I'm just going to be honest. I remember growing up and turning on Dan Rather. Y'all know, if you know, you know. Dan Rather and Barbara Walters and that whole generation, of news reporters that we all knew. They all came into our home. At 6 o'clock, you was watching the news. At 11 o'clock, you was watching the news. You watched the local and then the national. That every household. We were tuning in to see Katie Couric was the beginning of the end. If you know, you know. We was all, and I can't, Walter Cronkite, Dan Rather, Barbara Walters, everybody knew those names. Every household knew them. We had an antenna, and if you didn't get nothing else, you got CBS, NBC, and ABC. Some of us were lucky, and we got the Fox, where we could watch the Westerns all the time with, what's his name, John, y'all help me, Cool Hand Luke. It was before he was before my time, but the Westerns were always on. Watched the one with Clint Eastwood, Rawhide, and, oh my God, what is his name? Somebody tell me. John Wayne. That's what I could think of. John Wayne. Yep, distillation. The water you can do condensed water. You can just, I know exactly what you mean by that. My pawpaw taught me that too. Things that you can do with an old car radiator system. Tell me I'm wrong, Cherokee, on that one. You just need some coils, copper preferably, a radiator. You got to be careful. Make sure that it's not got that radiator antifreeze stuff in there. That's where people got sick. Absolutely. Not only have they kept us sick and controlled, think about this. I want to go back to the cartoon I was talking about Jen Starr. We have been manipulated. That was the beginning. That, in my opinion, in that era, when that cartoon, they told us what they were doing. Think about it. That was the Nickelodeon right before the Nickelodeon era. The Disney Princess era. How many of us, from my generation And the 10 years before and 10 years after, let's say that 30-year period. How many of us that sit there and can remember a bill is just a bill on Capitol Hill? If you know, you know. The Schoolhouse Rock series. That's the last time that our cartoons and our TV was actually educational, that we actually learned something, and that it wasn't mind rot. Okay? We learned lessons. Even in watching Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner, we learned lessons. Shortcuts don't pay. Yosemite Sam, the Roadrunner, what always happened? Meep, meep. What always happened? Every time you took a shortcut or tried to do something dirty to catch the Roadrunner, you ended up getting hurt. Yeah, Cobburns, yeah. Listen, if I had some land, I'd have an income myself. I wouldn't be worried about getting phone cut off. I don't know what I'm going to do. I really don't. I'm scared and worried. But that's besides the point. I'm talking about right now is more important than that. What I'm talking about is the Nerf commercials era, the Barbie commercials, Barbie and Ken and Skipper, and all that started. The Bratz dolls is the end of what I'm talking about. The beginnings was Mattel. Remember the Trouble, Monopoly, those commercials. All of that was geared towards influence. I believe it was a test, a beginning test that continues still to today. It's been perfected. And then once the powers that be, the people with money, the people that could control the advertising, think about it. Who's the people with money now? What do they control? They control news media. They control, through print, through internet, through television, through advertising. It started, I'm going to say something that I thought I would never say. And I swear to y'all, I want to kick my own ass for having to say this. But maybe, just maybe, we should have listened to Tipper Gore and the PMRC. Oh my God. What would have happened if the major recording artists and studios and record companies and those of us that were buying the music back then hadn't come out so hard against the rating system? We're talking, this is during the time that we had the Motley Crue, the Rat, the Metallica, and just beginning the Nirvana and grunge period, right? And 2 Live Crew with Uncle Luke. If you know, you know. And I say this because I was always into music. Music was emotion and feeling for me. And today's music, and I sound like an old fuddy-duddy, and everybody will say, well, every generation says this. But to me, today's music has no soul. It has no meaning. Mumble rap. What's the meaning to that? Even rap back in the day had a message. Listen to KRS-One. Listen to even Uncle Luke. It was a party message. Okay, yes. The Yin Yang Twins and all that. That was, to me, they were the beginning of the commercialization part. But I'm trying to think of the name of the group that even sang it. I remember the song Tennessee. And in the early days of the rap culture, it was more poetry to music. It had meaning, it had soul, it had depth, it told a story. And it just evolved into more club music. And from there, it went from certain rug culture being ostracized and hidden and shameful. We didn't hear about Johnny Cash and Chris Christopherson and the charges for the Quaaludes and all the other stuff. We didn't hear about that back then. We didn't hear about that. I liked conjunction function. Conjunction junction. What's your function? I used to love that. And I used to feel so sad for the Bill on Capitol Hill. He looked so pitiful on the steps till the little boy came up to him looking like Dennis the Menace. Anyway, I believe that the powers that be in the entertainment industry in general, across the board, whether it was news, commercials, television shows, music, Broadway plays, whatever, found that commercial advertising could influence buying and influence the direction of entertainment and society as a whole. Arrested Development, yes, I love that song because it has meaning. And let me tell you, please don't think that's lost on this generation that's coming up right now. Little man loves Kiss, loves The Roots, Patsy Cline. I have very eclectic musical taste, and luckily I have passed that on to him and his mom, thankfully. You know, they're just as likely to be listening to Beethoven and Bach as they are to Metallica. Oh, let's see. I'm going to be nosy. Oh, um, little Dev, I think you got hid because of some of the language. Oh, yeah, I remember grunge. That's what I said. Nirvana was the beginning. And then I'm going to go ahead and put it back if it'll let me. Oh, okay. Anyway, I remember grunge metal. Don't, like I said, Nirvana, Oasis, Weezer, and the Sweater Song. You're good, Deb. It's fine, honey. I understand where you were coming from. I don't disagree. Um, I think that what we've heard about for years about entertainment industry, specifically music, is not fictional. I think in the late 80s, early 90s, that a realization that entertainers of all genres, music, film, television, commercial, soap opera, Broadway, whatever, could, just like influencers on social media of today, could show us products and we would buy them because we wanted to be like them. Like my cousin who wanted a yellow sweater vest because that iconic Michael Jackson poster that was hanging above her bed where he had on the white button-up collar with the yellow sweater vest from the from the Moonwalking days, and that album keeps telling me error, try again. Always like Wendell. Yep. A lot of people don't know that from Arrested Development, Lucy Pearl and In Vogue had members in both of those, and Arrested Development. Um, not Dawn Richard, that was just on the stand for Diddy, not that Dawn, a different Dawn. That was in Vogue, and Lucy Pearl was also um, one of the singers from Arrested Development was a group member of Lucy Pearl. And that's how it ties together. It's hard to explain. I see it in my brain a lot of times, but it's hard to get it out. I remember Weezer, Green Day, Kurt Cobain and Nirvana, of course. I remember the Flannels and the Doc Martens. The grunge is today's emo, in my opinion. Similar, dyeing your hair dark black with the crazy styles. We went a little more punk, with the Sex Pistols type thing back then. My point, though, is there's been long-term whisperings for years, and I've heard it since my early 20s, and still hear about it today, of artists saying that they were brought into a meeting at a round table with record executives and politicians and media influencers, other personalities, whether it was your reporter type and, your star from film and television and music industry. And everything was geared. They signed NDAs, non-disclosure agreements. And what was talked about was everything was geared towards glorifying the inner urban youth and their pursuit of rugs and rug selling. This is during the Iran-Contra time that the CIA is flooding our streets with rack cocaine. If you know, you know. You know, to buy the arms for the Iran-Contras. It was during this time frame that meetings basically were held. And it started to glorify certain activities. What I call corner boys. And fast money. But what happened to those corner boys? They got arrested. They went to jail. It was a revolving door system of financial gain one way or the other. And then what we didn't know and have subsequently been able to find out is that these same executives, and I'm talking high level, not we're talking COOs, CFOs, CEOs, those level acronym titles, and government officials, stars were used as pawns. They're the same influencers that you now see on Instagram and stuff are doing what the Marilyn Monroes and the Rock Hudsons and Clint Eastwoods did back in the day. And since, and those in their footsteps since, which are glorify certain actions, activities, and apparel and items to where we want them because we like this person and we aspire to be like this person. So we want what they have. And we can get it, but it's more expensive because this person has it. So, and then with the influx of R&B and soul, which is no longer even seems to be a genre nowadays. You had then hip hop and rap and the glorification of drinking, smoking Mary Jane, using rack and sipping on scissor and all that. And please don't tell me that's something new because it's not. Go back and look, type in sipping on scissor. That's a song I was dancing to at the club in my 20s. What happened? The same people that were in that board meeting making these artists of all across the board sign NDAs and produce certain music. We're now finding out that most of them we thought wrote the music didn't write it. It was ghostwriters. And who had them write? Who had the ghostwriters writing? Who picked who sang what song? Who picked who ghost wrote for who? Your Clive Davises and your P. Diddy's. No, even above them. I watched an interview on The Breakfast Club with Larry Cohen where he was talking about DMX. And basically at the end of the day, he said that he knew that music that he had pushed to the mainstream glorified drug use and probably created a generation of addicts. But at the end of the day, he ran a for-profit company and had people to feed. Same person that called DMX a gremlin after he passed. One of the same people, by the way, that chose DMX over Jay-Z. Why? Both of them wanted their own masters. Both of them wanted to control their own careers. But one of them's music refused to glorify the violence and the hood mentality, and rather chose to put it in a true, honest perspective. Now, why am I saying all this? Because at those meetings, allegedly, during the Clinton era, something occurred. Our jails and prisons became privatized. Capitalism at its finest. And through privatizing, there are minimum capacities that they have to meet to receive certain federal funding. Food, upkeep, running, certain dollar amount per inmate. You have a quota, whatever you want to call it. So if we want to fill our jails, what do? Well, we're talking about also a time frame. Again, Clinton was right after Reagan. Reagan era is when the CIA put the rocks in the street. And then laws were passed that made possession or sale of rocks give you more time than the sugar substance of the same format. That law later got repealed, and people that were still jailed under it received a 15 to I believe it was 15 to 18% time reduction. A lot of people were released within months. Even when the law passed and you're supposed to be let out, it still takes time. The heck? Lord, I hope that ain't that one woman that's going to say something. And if, in case y'all don't know or aren't aware, Weezer, the band Weezer, he's had the Sweater song. I just remember the CD and standing in line for it at Tape Town, and it had the solid blue background with the band member and the sweater on it. One of the leads, I don't think it was Noah Gallagher. I think it's the other lead. I'm trying to figure out what this person's doing. Anyway, they literally, their wife was recently arrested for shooting at police. What's interesting is, I don't know if and this is going a little bit left, what we was talking about, but kind of still on the same thing. I am tying Diddy in a little bit here. If y'all seen Soft White Underbelly or BJ Investigates That Surprise Witness, they have featured Tania, who tells about a sheik that she was basically traveling with, or he was like her PIMP. I see, hey auntie, I don't know, I can't see your name, but hello. Where she tells a story about that, and him trying to traffic her, and ending up in Miami on Star Island at a Diddy party. Now, I'm going to be real with you. Tania's a clout chaser. She's adjacent to Crip Mac. Her daughter's been on Soft White Underbelly. She's an ex-worker, a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I kind of didn't believe her till I did some research on this sheik, the Prince sheik. So he was the fourth in line to be the crown prince of Brunei. The Sheikh Al-Azam, or however you say his name. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I just can't pronounce it correctly, okay? You're fine, little Dev. It's not going to be monetized because I've already said too much. It'll probably be buried by YouTube to keep it 100% honest. But here's what I found out about that sheik. Weezer, the guy from the group Weezer, it was the lead guitarist, I believe, or bassist. There's a recent article about his wife. She was paid $20,000 a week by that same sheik. The guy that was fourth in line took her to his daddy and the daddy's brother in Brunei to stay and be a part of their harem for however long they wanted to be, to do whatever that they asked to do. $20,000 a week. Then when looking into this sheik, he died. The one that Tania says was trafficking her and took her to Diddy's Star Island, and said that the sheik and Diddy were diddling each other in a non-straight man way, okay, in front of everybody. Know that one, they are Muslim, strict Muslim community. That's important because of what I'm about to tell you. Because even Kevin Gates will tell you, the Muslim belief does not believe in same-sex relationships, okay? If you are strict Muslim. At this time frame we're talking about. I'm not talking about today. We're talking about during this time frame. Which would have been somewhere around 12 to 15 years ago. The sheik that we're talking about that was fourth in, the Sheikh Armani I believe it's Amani Azay or something's how you say his name. He was fourth in line to be to the throne to be the Sheikh of Brunei, which is one of the richest countries, and whoever is the Sheikh, the ruler of Brunei, is probably, well, is definitely one of the top three richest men in the world, because the entire country of Brunei, which is oil rich, their entire purse is the Sheikh's purse. He owns it all. It's like his own property and land. He owns everything and everybody. So, I don't know if he was one of the sons or a nephew. I believe he was one of the sons of the current sheik at the time that we're speaking of Brunei. He was fourth in line to the throne. The Sheikh Armani, whatever, that the Prince Armani from Brunei, that Tania's talking about trafficking her in the South White Underbelly interview. So on further investigation, there's pictures. He's tied to Diddy and a lot of other people in Hollywood. What's even more strange is he was openly in relations with men and women. And shortly after he was open about that and came out about that, he ran around in Hollywood circles, Miami and Hollywood, New York, those type circles. And at the age of 38, succumbed to a mysterious illness that's never been fully disclosed. Something similar to Brittany Murphy and her husband, Kim Porter, pneumonia-related illnesses. It's the way it was stated in all that I can find. It was never disclosed, and being the power and the money from that country, understand. He was 38 years old at the time he passed. And even though he was fourth in line, my understanding is the laws, he couldn't be disinherited. He could not be taken out of that lineup except by being taken out. And it would have pretty much disrupted the entire country and done it in had he became any leader in any position there. I didn't believe that it wasn't true. I didn't believe Tania's story until the story came out about the Weezer bandmate's wife and her story, and then several subsequent others' stories about this sheik, and then the pictures, and then the openly bi lifestyle, and the shame and embarrassment that it created for his family lineage. And the fact that at 38, he died of a mysterious illness. Now, due to his lifestyle of drugs and promiscuousness, there is an entire possibility that it could have been related to the HIV. You're good, little Deb. Don't worry. Came in the 90s, buying out state and federal contracts. Yes. So, all this ties in to the entertainment industry and what was glorified. If you remember, it was glorified all kinds of promiscuous, scantily clad women and guns, pew-pews of all kinds, and rugs. Before this time frame, you would have never heard, you heard Mary Jane. There was eluding to certain illicit substances, but during this time frame, they just started putting it straight out there in the videos, showing the usage. They of all different things, sipping, the lean and syrup, all that kind of stuff, and Quaaludes and Molly and Percocet and all that stuff. I mean, there's songs with those names in the titles, and it created a revolving door for the jail and prison system. And for those invested in the entertainment, more specifically music and video industry, that own stock in that as well as our jail system, they were catching money on both ends. Think about it. You've got to see the entire perspective picture from specific persons picked out between 4th grade, some people 3rd grade, on up, and whatever experiments and psychological testing done to them, to commercials targeted in specific ways for specific individuals to make us spend money, to make us go buy a pair of shoes that are $300 that cost $13 to make us go stand in line and people get pew-pewed and unalived over a pair of sneakers. So they not only sold the sneakers, they sold the movie, they sold the videos, they sold the music that went with those. Air Force Ones by Nelly. Come on, stopping in my Air Force Ones. You're seeing that. You got the Jordans coming out. They're standing online. You're hearing about, I'm in North Carolina, Podunk. You got 3 people unalived for their tennis shoes, okay? And what happens? The entertainment industry not only profited from the sale of them shoes and the advertising spotlight and the shows and the movies and the videos we watched and the music that we bought that went along with the shoes and the movie Space Jam. Anybody remember that? Not saying the message necessarily in everything was bad, but it all ties together. We want it so bad we're willing to commit a crime to do it. And then what happens? That same person, that same conglomerate, that same group that profited off of the music video, off of the film, off of the advertisements, off of the product, is now profiting off of the criminal end of it as well. They're profiting off of your desire for that material object in every single way possible. How can the justice system be fair across the board to everybody when you monetize it and it operates for capital gain? Let that sink in for a moment. See, all 3 of us, I'll tell you this. All 3 of us that I know of, myself, Dana, and Shelly, at the time that I was in the program, my parents are still together. My dad worked at Drexel in the machine shop, Drexel Heritage Furniture. My mother worked at that time for Chatelaine or Buster Brown in a factory jobs. My dad was also an auto mechanic as a second job on the side. Shelly's dad ran a garage and towing business, and her mom was the receptionist in a factory, Morganton Dye and Finishing. Dana's mom was an accountant and like did taxes and accounting for businesses, but she had her own private accounting business. And her dad worked for Bell South Mobile. It was Bell South Mobile at that time. Um, I remember being at Dana's house. We talked about this, and her record player. Um, she had Lionel Richie and the Commodores. The song "Celebrate Good Times." Come on, that's the first record that I ever heard on a record player, not at my grandmother's house, my mom's mom, because we had all my mom's old records and stuff that we used to listen to, the Beatles, and I wish I still had those. I wish I still had those. Chuck Berry, Maybelline, why can't you be true? Hey, Maybelline, if you know, you know. Uh, I remember, what was that song, Sipping on Lodi? I cannot remember who even sings it. I just remember the Lodi part. Anyway, I digress. My point is, we hear more talk about all these things now, and it's coming out, and it's been whispered for years. And people that said something about it 20 years ago or 10 years ago were called conspiracy theorists. But what Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite and Barbara Walters told us on the evening news has turned out to be lies and fictitious. And what conspiracy theorists from back in the AOL chat room days were talking about is now proving to be true, more accurate than the national news media was. And let's think about it. Let me ask y'all something. Do you honestly think, and I'm going to talk about this one because I think that they're no longer a company, and that's why I'm going to say them. Y'all remember the records and the cassettes and stuff, like you pay 11 cents and get like 20, and you're in the monthly program that, like, it was like BMG or something. It had the record player, the old school one with the little dog sitting beside it. Yep, Cool in the Gang. Celebrate good times. Come on. Okay. Anyway, y'all know I'll quit singing. You know why? I didn't have an album out. Are you going to tell me? Think about how in the hell did that company or any of those companies survive? How many people do you know that more than once got the first 13 to 15 cassettes and canceled their subscription and never paid another dollar for it? Spent that first like $5 and never paid another dollar. When they give you something for nothing, there's a reason. These companies are not in it to make us happy. They're in it to make a profit. Our government, if you learn anything, and I'm going to say this emphatically, if we learn anything from Donald Trump, whether you love him or hate him, isn't even the point. I think, at the very minimal, he has proven that our government operates for profit. Our government we live in a capitalist society. So, if I can control the land that's used to grow the corn and the factory and the equipment to bring the corn in and mill it and make it, and the factory that takes it and makes it into a cereal and packages it, and the company that ships it, and the store that sells it, that's how I maximize my profit. So why does the entertainment industry not operate the same way? Then my next question is, when you look at all the videos with all these video vixens, with all these scantily clad people, who found them? Modeling agencies. What has the whisper always been? The way the modeling agencies made their real money was how? Escorting to the umpteenth degree. Okay. Makes sense to me if you're out to make money. And why are all these artists that sold billions of dollars, and I mean with a B, billions of dollars worth of music, why are they broke? Why are they 70 years old and still having to perform at local events and fairs to pay the rent? I'm just saying. What's the reason for that? And here I'm going to tie it full circle because I'm going to get off here and go spend a little time with little man, because once my phone is off, I'm going to be out of contact with everybody. I won't even, I don't, anyway, sorry. I want to tie this up in a bow. So, the privatization of the prison system and jail system, the commercialization of gangsta / violent music, period. Whether it was metal or grunge metal or just grunge or punk or gangsta rap or hip hop, whatever you want to call it, that all of that's through the same time period, along with the rise in popularity of designer brands to the average citizen. I remember Outback Red and Forenza and Red Camel and Keds and Nike and Adidas and Agner and Dooney and Burke. Growing up, those were the names that were sought after. And you could go to Rose's for $4, $3 and get you Adidas with 2 stripes or 4 stripes. Go to Kmart on Blue Light Special and get you a pair of the leather flip-flops that they crisscrossed. They went between your toes and crisscrossed on your feet and had the big rubber sole and the mushy like suede inside that everybody was wearing, but you had to have that little A symbol on it, or it wasn't that good. Or Bass, it could be Bass, the Bass leather boat shoes or the Bass leather thongs, and everybody had to have them. Around here, Belk's was where you had to go to get them. Some places you had to order them. My point is, did these executives at a high level across the board in these companies own stock in possibly Disney, Mattel, the record companies, the prison systems, Nike? Oh, I remember candies. Remember the Dr. Scholl's that were similar to the candies that everybody had to have, them clods that, good Lord, that you break your neck and reel your ankle in. The candies would do the same thing to you. And then it was the Baby Love's Baby Soft perfume was the thing too back in the day with the candies. And you had the Maybelline lip gloss and the little lip pots in the little metal tin, and the rollerball lip gloss. That's the only makeup I ever wanted was them because they were advertised. My point is, if you go back and look, in my personal belief system, mid to late 60s, when they started with cigarette advertising on TV, is when the advertising industry realized that they could control our buying power and what we thought about certain brands through commercialization and through showing characters and people that we identified with and idolized to sell us those products, which is still happening today, by the way, with your favorite streamer and Amazon influencer and YouTube creator. It's the same thing. It's just more out there now. Back then it wasn't. And I'm wondering, if we look at investment portfolios, what are we going to find? What are we going to find for the Lyre Cohens and his son? By the way, it's really interesting to see that their family, son and father, control the two largest music groups in the world. People didn't know that. That's fact. It's not slander. It's not nothing. They are the chief executive officers of two, like UMG, and I forget the other one. It's amazing, and they're all associated with Jay-Z and certain high profile celebrity entertainers. I mean, think about it. Back in the day when you had huge celebrities that everybody knew their name. The Bruce Willises, the Demi Moores, the days of Marilyn Monroe and Jane Seymour and Betty Davis. Those days, if you saw them smoking a cigarette, you wanted to smoke. If you saw them wearing a style of dress, you wanted it. That's when they figured it out. And ever since then, it's been perfected. But if let's say that I'm the head of this music group, okay? And I realize that through advertising and product placement in music videos and live shows, that I can influence people. I remember Captain Kangaroo. I do, Mr. Green Jeans. Through product placement in videos and ads and concerts and attachments, that I could sell 60% of the population this item. So I'm going to invest in advertising. I'm going to invest in filmmaking. I'm going to invest in apparel and shoes. And I'm going to invest in prisons. And probably inadvertently, not caring, also invest in street substances that are flooding the streets. Let me ask you, before cable TV, when we just had your three ABC, NBC, CBS, and maybe if you're lucky, Fox. FX, I think it was back then. It wasn't like Fox News now. It was like on the UFH channels where PBS was. Here comes little man a running to me. God knows what he's going to tell me. Did we have a drug problem with all these different types of them out there?
When is
What? When am I coming down?
No, when is she coming?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't. I'll check in a little bit. I'm still live. Tell everybody hey.
Hi.
Okay. They can't see you. I got the camera off. They can hear you though. Say, how y'all doing today?
How you doing today?
Nene getting ready to sign off. Go back down there and I'll be down there in a minute. I'm going to come try to fix me something to eat right quick. Okay? And charge my box.
Okay.
I love you. I love you, Pook Pook.
Love you.
They said, love you, little man.
Love you.
Oh. Okay. Alright. I'm wondering if from the inception of the GATE program, if it really is tied to the CIA's Gateway program. Here we go with my bow part before I say goodbye. I'm wondering, was it a concerted effort by those that really are in power in the world, especially in the Western world, and our government as well, to almost mind control, to control and influence populations' buying and spending habits, and to create a certain class of citizens, a subservient worker class, that by influencing our spending habits, getting us where we have to have credit to survive, and we're always more of a feudal type system right now. Think about it. Because even when you pass away, like my mother did, her bills became my bills. So even if I was debt free, I inherited her debt, just like you can inherit assets. And until that was taken care of, it was my debt and to be passed on to the next generation. So you hear about creating generational wealth. You also create generational debt. And we become a slave to the working system. If that makes any sense. Whether it was Nikes, Adidas, Calvin Klein jeans, Aerosmith and Run DMC, and the big rope chains and medallions, and the shell toe Adidas, and matching hats and tracksuits. So if Aerosmith and Run DMC were signed to the same music group, and the board for that music group also owned stock in Adidas, and the advertising company that ran the ads for Adidas, and the film company that made the video, how did they profit off of every single thing? Think about, here's a perspective. Remember Michael Jackson and the Pepsi tour? Sponsored fully by Pepsi. And when his hair caught on fire, Pepsi's sales tanked. Had that not happened, they would have took off and left Coke in the dust. And just remember also, a lot of these artists, and Cassie's story is what made me think of it. If you're signed to standard contract is somewhere between 3 and 4 albums. If you're signed to make 4 albums and you put out 3, until you make that 4th album and they say it's the 4th one and accept it and put it out, you're still under contract and you still owe them an album. As long as you still owe an album under that contract, under that name, you can no longer put out music. The same thing like Dave Chappelle was talking about. His contract. He did not even own his name because it was the Dave Chappelle show. He didn't even own his name. Prince didn't even own his name. Dave Chappelle couldn't do a stand-up show that he wasn't under the same contract for the Dave Chappelle show. Every time they play that, he doesn't earn a penny. Because that company that produced it, Comedy Central, owns it. We now know that most artists end up owing and having to tour and make videos and live performances to pay off the advances that they were given. That car, that wasn't a gift. That was taken out of the money that was advanced by the record company to make the album. And their managers or the company they were signed to, like usually and I'm going to use BMG again because as I understand, they're no longer in operation. So they had Umbrella Records run by Smitty under them. And Smitty would sign Little Toe and Little Tim to Umbrella Records that was run and owned by BMG. But until they finished that contract out, they could not use their name, their likeness, or any of their music, even if they wrote it, for perpetuity, forever, in ever. They didn't get any money from it. Everything that they got was in the $1 million or $500,000 advance. So, like, for instance, everybody thought Mariah Carey's $30 million deal was good. Okay, she got $30 million for 4 albums. I think, or let's say 3 albums because the math's easier. So that's $10 million per album. The first album on that contract that she put out sold $100 million in profit. So the recording company that she signed to made $100 million in profit off of that first album. She got $10 million. They made $90 million. and off of each album times 3. So she made 30 million and they made 270 million out of that contract just off of the album sales. That doesn't include merch and concerts and, that kind of thing. Doesn't include that. Doesn't include the special guest appearances on Law and Order or Saved by the Bell or whatever. But those are covered under the contract. And they would get SAG pay, which is just the standard pay. And maybe they got 30,000 for that appearance, but SAG pay would have been 5. So the recording company made 25,000 and they made 5. And that was the breakdown. And that's why artists are broke. Because they advanced you 500,000 and your album sold 250. You still owe 250,000 that you got to work off, that they've already paid you. And you thought you were going to make more money, so you bought a house that was 150,000 and a $50,000 car and jewelry, and paid for all your friends to be on the tour with you and do positions. And now you're not only broke, but you're in debt as an artist. As an artist that's put out 5 albums and made a recording company $3 billion. You're broke. And you still owe them money. Because the way it was set up was not all albums together throughout your contract, but individual albums. So if you had one that sold really great, good for them, and you broke even, and maybe made a small double figure before the comma, 10,000 or 20,000 profit off that one good album. But then you have 2 more crappy albums. Remember, the original album, the freshman album, it's a big bang and you got 5 hits and it's great and you're, touring and the monies are rolling in, you think. But the record company and the managers and all the corporate people are the ones really collecting. And then your next album comes out, the sophomore curse, as they call it. The one-hit wonders. And it sucks. But you got a 500,000 advance for each of your 3 albums, right? And the only one that sold good is the first one. And the next 2 didn't make that 500,000. So now altogether, you owe the recording company, the record company, $750,000. How is that possible when your first album made 500 million? Because it's even though you have to produce this number of records, the breakdown of profits and profit share is per album. And when you get a lawyer and they give that lawyer to you, or your manager connects you with that lawyer, it's not in your best interest that they're working. Remember, who pays the attorney is who's they're working for and whose best interest they work for. The person who pays the money signs the contract with the attorney. And that's who the attorney works for. Remember that part. Okay, guys. I've ran my mouth enough. I think I painted a full picture. I personally feel that it was a program that at its inception was created to find out certain things and run experiments on us as kids to actually see if certain things were happening. You got to remember, it's the Cold War era that I'm talking about, between us and Russia, the nuclear era. And it was different. It was different then than it is today. Greatly so. See. I'm going to look and see what I got to eat and see if I can't figure something out to cook. I love oodles and noodles, but I'm kind of tired of eating them. And I'm trying to save them and my food as much as I can, so I'm going to go in here and raid Lacey's fridge. Don't tell her. She don't know that's what I'm about to do. Shh, keep it on the low. Anyway, I do want to say thank you all for watching. Thank each and every one of you that are members and contributors. I do appreciate you. Thank everybody that's ever supported me. And I'm doing this because I have, today's what, the 20, I think this is 26th. I have to look to be certain, and I don't know how. And I thank you for being there and for your support. If my phone gets disconnected, I'm not going to be able to get the jobs I've applied for. They're not going to be able to call back. I'm not even going to have an internet connection or anything. I'm just kind of scared and worried, to be honest with you guys. I have a question. I don't know. The Whatnot shop's not up yet, and I'm not able to sell. If I did a live stream, if I could figure out how to do it, either on the Nene Productions channel or on here, and showed the jewelry that I've got for sale and everything, would y'all be interested in purchasing that so that I could help make the money to pay my cell phone bill? I would include shipping and handling in the prices that each item was selling for. And also, if anybody is interested or wants to help support the channel, if at this point in time you can do it through Cash App, PayPal, or Venmo, that would be greatly appreciated. Or join the Patreon, because if it's through a YouTube super chat or super sticker or directly through YouTube, they take 45 cents out of every dollar, and it would be June 21st or later before I would be able to receive the money, so it wouldn't help pay the cell phone bill. Not asking, I'm just saying if anybody's interested and able, it would be greatly appreciated. The bill itself is $53. Right now, I've got to come up with $41.35 to be able to pay it. And at 12:01 a.m. on the 28th, they will cut it off. Since Verizon took over Straight Talk, those of you that are on Straight Talk may have noticed this. It used to be, if they said your phone bill was due on the 3rd, that sometime between midnight and 8 a.m. on the 3rd, you would be cut off. Now, if it's due on the 3rd, sometime between midnight and 3 a.m. on the 2nd, they cut you off. Literally, like the 1st happens, and it says the bill's due on the 3rd. Last month, it was the 1st, and my bill was due on the 3rd. I got cut off at 3:22 a.m. on the 2nd. Just after midnight. Not after midnight on the 2nd, after midnight on the 1st. And I know it's confusing. It's basically an entire 24 hours before the date. And I don't understand why. I sat on hold twice for over 2 hours trying to get through to a representative to ask questions, and they're not answering. And it's not just me. I've talked to 4 other people randomly that were on Straight Talk, and since they were bought out by Verizon, there's changes. Also, there's something called My Hub now, that you have to go to. The Straight Talk app and website never is functioning properly. I can go, I swear, the day before my bill is due, I can go on it and look it up and it's fine. And the day that my bill is due, it will not work. I've had to call 611 and pay it every time. Last month they cut me off, and I literally didn't know it until I was trying to pay the bill. But, and I would go somewhere else, but I already have my Lifeline discount on there, and I get unlimited 5G broadband, like house internet, and hotspot with my plan. And it's cheaper than cable or internet service at home. And it enables me to be eligible to do a work from home job and to do the live streaming and stuff and not have to worry usually about service unless something's going on with the service itself. Anybody that has any questions, if somebody wants to be not send me money and pay it direct, email me and I'll send you what you need to directly pay towards the bill or whatever. You don't have to send any funds to me, and they're non-refundable once you put it on there. They'll tell you that. Peace, love, and light. See y'all later tonight.